everybody, welcome back to At Home with the Woots. Today I'm going to do a little something different and we're going to talk about homeschooling. I'm going to do a mid-year check-in and kind of go over all the curriculum we've used so far this year, talk a little bit about our homeschooling philosophy, what works, what doesn't work for our family, and even do some curriculum go-throughs, flip-throughs, if you will. So come on in, grab a cup of coffee, join me as we talk a little bit more about homeschooling and how it works for our family. Okay, I'm going to start by talking about kind of our daily run through of how homeschool runs for our family. So every morning we will meet here at what we call the circle table. And we will just kind of go through what are the expectations of the day, go over their planners. I fill out an agenda for them every single day so that they know what's expected for the week and the day ahead. And we go over that. I answer any questions that they might have from the day previous or about the upcoming day that we have. And then we go ahead and get started with our family subjects. So every morning we do a read aloud together. We've done many this year. Right now we're going through Bound for Oregon. And then we will do a Bible study together. And then we will pray together before we get started. And then we start with history. I do social studies and history as a family subject. Because I think it is a subject that lends to a lot of really good discussions. And although my older son can have more in-depth and challenging conversations in terms of social studies, I feel like it's good to expose his younger brother to those types of conversations, those types of deep thinking questions, to get him on that same path. So that is how we start. And then if we are doing any sort of unit study, we will also do our unit study together during our family subjects. Okay, so I said that we do family studies first. So I am actually going to touch on the family studies subjects that we go through. So for family studies, we do a read aloud, like I said, and that's just a chapter book that we'll go through together as a family. And then we are doing this for Bible. So we are using Apologia's curriculum, The Word in Motion, Old Testament. And it goes completely through the Old Testament. So it goes through the whole Old Testament. Okay, so it's a lot because the Old Testament is really long, but we are getting through it. So every week there's a lesson, and it will have this week was Abraham and Isaac. And it does come with a video lesson. So she teaches the lesson about Abraham and Isaac. And then the next day you read basically the story or a description of the story from the Bible here. And then we follow that up with actually reading the passages of the Bible that we're talking about. So we'll go through the whole Bible story of Abraham and Isaac and talk about that. And then they talk about other things like altars and what altars were built for, and then they'll talk, they have let's talk about it questions. And so we do these as a family discussion. So the kids each have a notebook and they can write their answers down. How I have them do it is I have them bullet point their answers and then we discuss. Then we talk about covenants, and then they have these, which I think is really interesting. I just am constantly reminding the children that this is not from the Bible. This is just a fun possible interpretation of what, in this example, would be Isaac was thinking. So we don't really go through this and take it super seriously, but this is a fun way that we kind of talk about what would a different perspective be from the Bible. And then there is a guided prayer at the end. We will do this prayer every day for the week so that we just have a continual prayer that we have each week. And then we just move on, Jacob and Joseph, and move on from there. But the kids are really liking this. And then once we're moving through this, we'll do the New Testament. So that's our Bible curriculum. I'll talk about that later. These are some of the unit studies that we've done. So for Halloween, we did this, all things spooky, unit study. For Thanksgiving this year, I still have my pencil in here. We did Giving Thanks by Campfire Curriculums. I loved this. We are still working on the first Christmas unit study by Gather Round. Honestly, we've been working on this for like 2 years. I just am taking it really, really slow to kind of go through it. And honestly, we'll probably finish it next year and then move on to another Christmas unit study. But this is the one that we were working through this year. And then we did a Valentine's Day study this year. So we learned about St. Valentine and where Valentine's Day comes from. And do we think that it's a Christian holiday or not? And what are the perspectives there? This had some really great conversations for the family in it. And then we're also doing a farming and food study. So I really like this. I'm really into farming and food. So this really hit the mark for our family. But all of us have really learned a lot from this. We're not all the way through. I think we're only like halfway through. I think we're in the bees section, but it's really cool because they talk about like the different types of farming, and then they talk about specific farms, like subsistence farms, commercial farms, honeybee farms, pork farms, poultry farms, flower farms. So they just go through all those and they talk about the difference, how they came about, where they are, like regionally, things like that. So this is another unit study that we've done together. So those are the unit studies. We also, once a month, get these World Watch magazines in the mail. So Everett gets the World Teen magazine, and Grant gets, I think it's God's Big World is for kids, I think. But they both get these and they both read them. So they get one a month, and their job is to like read one art magazine article a day. So I like this. I think this is a really good way to introduce the kids to current events. And so this is like their little current event curriculum, I guess, which is just reading magazine. But that's what we're doing for that. So those are our family unit studies that we've done. And now I'm going to go over our history curriculum or our social studies curriculum. I've tried 4 or maybe 5 different social studies curriculums this year. So I just haven't found one that like really resonated with our family, our rhythm, how I wanted it. But then I did. The one that I started with this year that I actually loved was this one. It is Gather Round. It's the United States government. We did it as a family. Everett had the middle school book and Grant had the upper elementary book. And we went through the whole thing. I absolutely loved it. The kids learned so much. I learned so much. It was really, really wonderful. And I can't say enough good things. The problem is that it was just really, really fast. And we were done with this by Christmas time. So we started it in, I think, August. And then again, we were done in December. So it just was a little quick. But we also did, in between that, the election unit study. So we like took a pause in the middle during the election. I think this was a 3-day lesson. Yeah, 2 days. This was a 2-day lesson about the election. My kids loved this. They thought this was so cool because then when we were doing the actual election, the kids were able to watch and understand what was going on. They knew what like the electoral college votes were. We talked about like the math for the electoral college and things like that, which was really, really cool because I didn't even really have a solid grasp on that. And so I thought it was really interesting to learn about with the kids. And then we talked about some like swing state predictions and things like that. So then when we were watching the election coverage, we were like, were we right? Were we wrong? And so that was really, really cool. So I can't say enough good things about Gather Round's history curriculum. I absolutely love it. And so then after that was completed, I was like kind of floundering about social studies because I couldn't figure out what to do. And then a friend of ours in co-op mentioned that they were doing Moving Beyond the Page. And I'm big into literature-based curriculum, and that's what Moving Beyond the Page is. And so I ordered it. I ordered 2 different age groups. I ordered the 9 through 11 and the 10 through 12 because I wasn't really sure which was going to be most appropriate. When I got them, I realized that the 9 through 11 age group, we pretty much completely covered in here. So it was a little redundant. The only thing that I really wanted to do there was I really wanted to do this, your state. And so it's an in-depth look at your state. And so like this I thought was really cool. The kids had to draw a map of their state, which is Florida, and then they had to draw the different regions of Florida and then create a map legend. So I thought that was really cool. And it went along with what we decided to do, which is the age 10 through 12 curriculum. And we are doing the geography and land forms. So I'm really excited about this. I think that it's going really, really well so far. My kids are obsessed with maps. My oldest child, he every year for his birthday asks to have maps for his birthday gifts. He loves maps. And so this is perfect for us. And then we are kind of alternating. So I'll do this like 2 days a week or 3 days a week, and then this 1 to 2 days a week. And so we're kind of just mixing and matching both of them to do an in-depth look at Florida and then an in-depth look at geography and land forms. Now, my older son has done geography and land forms before. However, he loves it. And I just don't think it hurts to do more geography. So we're doing it. That's what we're doing. So that's our curriculum for social studies right now. Once our family subjects are complete, we'll move on to my oldest will start his independent work, and my youngest stays with me to focus on some other sort of curriculum that we are working through together. And I'm going to start going into that. So the first thing that we usually start with is language arts. For my oldest son, he is doing IW for writing. He is on year 2, level B, I think. Anyway, if you haven't done IW, it's fantastic. We started my youngest when he was in 3rd grade, and even though he struggles with language arts, I found that teaching him the way to write and to structure writing has been really beneficial to work through the challenges that he has with reading and writing. And so because he's very confident in the structure of how writing works, he can more confidently write longer paragraphs or sentences, even if it means dictating them. He's very confident in his work and what he puts out. And I'm actually really impressed with his capabilities and what his comprehension is in terms of language arts and writing. For reading, we've been doing individual literature studies. So even though we do a family read aloud, the kids are both reading books independently. Currently, my youngest, who's in 4th grade, is reading Boxcar Children, the first one. And then we have this comprehensive guide to go with it. This is Veritas Press, and it's their comprehension guide with the book. And I honestly really like it. They have a lot of questions and then activities as well that go with the chapter. So he does a lot of dictating. So I'll ask the questions and he'll answer them, and I'll write exactly what he said to me. And then there's also like cutout activities. We had a lot of fun with this one because we thought that the dolls were really weird looking and funny. And so we had a lot of fun making this and just kind of like teasing about that. And then my oldest is using this Fahrenheit 451 guide. So his is a little more intensive. I do not have him do all of the questions. I kind of I'm reading the book with him, and then I independently, he reads independently, I read it independently, and then I pick the questions that I think are most important for him to answer. and we just kind of go over the book and what he's reading together. This is another Veritas Press guide. This is the 7th or 8th grade guide. And he's reading, like I said, Fahrenheit 451. And then, like I said, for writing, they're both doing IEW. My oldest is in year 2, level B, and then my youngest is in year 1, level A. Last year, he did the community book for writing for like intro to IEW. It was so great. I can't say enough good things about it. Also for language arts, my oldest is doing word roots, which is like prefixes, suffixes, intro to Latin. He honestly does really well with this. He like excels in language arts. That's his strong suit. And so he really, really likes it. So they do talk about like prefixes, suffixes, word meanings. When you put them all together, what do they mean? They talk about like the difference between circumscribe and circumscriptive, or inscription and inscribe. What are the differences there, and what the different root words, prefixes, and suffixes mean, and how they change the meaning of the words. So I really like this. He's been working on this book for 2 years. And then my youngest is doing all about reading and all about spelling. He is in 4th grade, and you will see we're doing level 3 with reading, and we're doing level 2 with spelling, because he does have learning challenges when it comes to reading, like all language arts essentially. We are working a couple grades behind, but I will say I have noticed huge improvements since starting this curriculum. And his confidence in himself for reading has skyrocketed to the point where we are able to do, on top of this reading curriculum, a whole nother comprehension reading curriculum for a book. And he's able to go through that and really comprehend what he's reading. And he's reading it independently, which I am so proud of, because before this year, that would have been really challenging for him. And so now he is reading independently. So I can't say enough good things about this curriculum. It is the Orton Gillingham method for teaching reading and spelling. And again, we really like it. It comes with like flashcards. Flashcards have always been really good for my youngest. And so we do use that as well. And then with the reading and spelling, I create these little binders because there's a ton of activities that the kids have to do every week. Not every week, like every week there's like 1 or 2 activities. And so I like to have a place to collect all of them. They also have like you monitor. We need to add some stickers because he's at like 24. But every time he completes a lesson, he can put a sticker in. There's these rules that they go through, which really help Grant with his spelling. So I just put them in little page protectors. And then all of his activities are in here. So we did an advanced application. He does some spelling words. And this, we actually did the activity. Sometimes we just have him write the spelling words if he doesn't want to do that, the activity. But it goes through, and he can put all the spelling words together. It's really great. He loved this one because it was like an I Spy. He loved that activity. That was really fun for him. Here's another one where I just had him write the spelling words. This was hilarious. We read this in like silly voices, and so that was really fun, and he did all the spelling. And then I have a spot in the back for all of his dictation. So this was at the start, and this is kind of where we are now. His handwriting looks so much better now than it did before. And so here is, where we kind of keep all of his work together for his spelling curriculum. That pretty much covers language arts, I think. So that's it for language arts, and that's where we are at mid-year. I'm about halfway through most of the curriculum. We do homeschool year-round, but like this week, my kids are taking a slow school week. So we just take slow weeks sometimes, and so it takes us a little bit longer, but that's why we do not break for summer. So the kids will have like a week off here or a week off there, but the majority of the time they are doing school all year round. So That's it for language arts. We're going to move on next to science. Having a little green juice. Sorry about that. Okay. So this year we are doing Apologia Science. This is my 7th grader's book. It's ginormous. And I love it so much. I think that he has grown so much in his scientific process in his brain. He is filling out like lab reports. So my kids, they type because that's just what they prefer to do instead of handwriting. But he's like filling out full lab reports: introduction, materials and procedures, data and results, conclusions. He's got 2 of them here that he's completed. And we're doing the experiments. He's charting things down. I really love this whole curriculum. I can't say enough good things about it. Apologia will be our science curriculum in the future. I wish I would have known about it sooner. We were doing small unit studies through The Good and the Beautiful. I also love The Good and the Beautiful. I think if you're starting to homeschool, The Good and the Beautiful is a perfect way to start. But at this point where we're at now, we just needed something a little more rigorous. And so Apologia delivers. Again, this is a middle school book, so it's very intense. I shouldn't say intense. There's just a lot to it. So like he's having to write definitions. He's having to fill these out, like out little charts and things like that. And then he has more charts, short answer questions, that he's answering. And he loves it, honestly. He does not ever complain about doing science. He absolutely is enthralled with the curriculum. He has so much fun doing all the experiments. We did get the video, so like if there's a week where I have to work and he can't do the actual physical experiment, he's just watching the experiment and can fill out the experiment lab report from the video. So I like that also because for us, our rhythm is so unique due to both of us working, and I can't work from home. I have to be out of the house to work. So this just gives us an extra, opportunity for him to work independently. And he's been really enjoying that freedom, and he's been really enjoying that responsibility. Now, with my 4th grader, he's doing earth science. This, we started I want to say in November, maybe December timeframe. He had other curriculum that we were just finishing up. It was some unit studies, but I wanted to finish the curriculum that we had before we started something new. So this is what we're working on now. This is really great, but it's definitely more hands-on. With my little guy, he just, because of his challenge with writing, he has a hard time. But I'll try and find an assignment that he did. It's really cool because there's a ton of really fun hands-on assignments in here. We don't do a lot of them, but at the end of every lesson, it says, what do you remember? There's questions, and then they have to answer the questions about what they learned in that lesson, which I think is really cool. And then we were talking about the spheres. We learned about the spheres of the earth, the core. He did this little assignment where he put the labels with the definitions. And then he just did a latitude and longitude. This is so cute. He drew a map of our house, the inside, which was really cute. Because they were talking about the earth and why the earth is round. And then we did these are cool. He did some labeling for parallels for lines of latitude and meridians for lines of longitude, and labeled all that. And so he was able to go through and he did that on his own, which is really cool. And then he had some science questions that he needed to do, and he asked if he could type the answers, and I said that was fine. So he has the questions here, And then he went through and typed his answers and stapled it to the paper. So like I said, my kids prefer typing to handwriting. Both of them just have challenges with fine motor skills, and I know that they need to practice handwriting, and they do. They practice it every single day at school. But in terms of for things like science and stuff, I do allow them to type, and I don't. For us, that's what works. So that's what we're doing. So that's our science curriculum, Apologia. I absolutely love it. This will be our science curriculum going forward. I don't foresee us changing it at any point. If I do, I'll let you know. But this and IEW they're set. That is what we're doing. All right, so now we're gonna go over the math curriculum. Okay, so for math, the last 2 years I did Singapore math. I did really like it, but it was really hard. It was very, very challenging, and it was definitely like out of the box thinking. And I felt like my kids were in public school before, and then when the pandemic came and they were homeschooled, that was not homeschooling. I just feel like they went so long without like a true valid education. And then when they went back to school after that, no one ever like fixed the scaffolding like that was missing. So there was like no foundation for these kids to build upon. And so I felt like I had to kind of backtrack, and the easiest way was to just do what they were used to, I guess, in school. And I felt like Singapore math was kind of the same because it's very language-based math. But although they were getting better at word problems, which is good, the computation stuff was still really hard. I mean, we were like really struggling with computation. So I wanted to change, and I wanted something that came with the opportunity to have a teacher. Or like a video lesson, because as Everett gets older and math gets harder, I just don't know if I know for certain that I am not qualified to teach math. So I would love to be able to. It's just not my strong suit. And so I wanted to be able to outsource that for our family. And so that's what I ended up doing this year. I had a wonderful friend who is a homeschooling guru. Her name is Roxy at Firewife Lawyer Mom. And she has a YouTube channel, and I will link her channel below because I got like a lot of these ideas from her of how to run our homeschool. So she is a wealth of knowledge. But she has been using Saxon Math for years and suggested that I try it with Nicole, the math lady. And so I decided that I was going to do it. The first time she suggested it to me, I opened the math book, and it looked like this, which you can see the pages. Looked like this. And I thought, no, I'm not doing it. It is black and white, and my kids are going to hate it, and it's not going to be interesting. And no, I want the pretty math books that have the colors and like the little shapy dudes and, you know, whatever. And then I was like, why do I care about that? We need to focus on computation. So I started doing Nicole the Math Lady with Saxon Math, and this will be our math curriculum going forward. I absolutely love it. Nicole the Math Lady is the best. Her website is incredible, and this math curriculum is so good. My middle schooler was really struggling with math. His computation is like off the charts. When we started this school year back in July, when he started a new math book, it was July, and I actually started him with the 7-6 book, and he loved it so much because he was just flying through that curriculum because it was just all stuff he had already done, and I didn't realize it. And Roxy's like, why are you not having him in his correct age group. And I was like, oh, ding, ding, ding. So 7th grade math. This is for 7th grade math. It says 8, 7, but this is for us. This is what we're using for 7th grade. There are placement tests. I would recommend doing them. 8, 7 also has pre-algebra in it, and so Everett has been doing the math in here, and then he has started to do some of the pre-algebra work. It's great. He loves it. He makes little notes, and he puts stickies in here with his little notes of how to do things. And there's a test booklet. Every 5 lessons there's a test, which I also love because it really gives you a good idea of what they're grasping and what they're not grasping. And then they also have computation worksheets. So it'll be like 50 addition problems or 20 long division problems or what have you. And I love that they have that built in because I think that that has really helped my boys to gain a more solid foundation in the basics of mathematics. And while I think that language-based math has a purpose because math is an application science, right? So we need to be able to use math in everyday life, in cooking, in cleaning, in measuring and building, and like all the things. But if you don't have that foundation of the computation, it's very challenging to build on top of that the language components. At least that's my prerogative. You may have a different one, and that's so awesome for you, but that's where I'm at. And so I really feel like we needed to have a more solid computational mathematics foundation, and that's kind of what we're doing here with the building. So if you look at a lesson here, I'll show you a close-up of the book, or you could just go on the page on her website, but it does have, like, this is one of his lessons. You'll notice that there's no writing really in his book. There's like not a lot of writing because he puts all his answers online. So he uses like a scratch paper notebook and he does all his math there, and then puts all the answers into the website online, and she does all the grading for us. So you'll see that there are some word problems here. There's even longer word problems here. So they do get that language component, right? But then they have a ton of just computation math. Just do the math problem. And I just feel like that's such a benefit to the kids because it keeps their skills really, really fresh. So we are using Saxon Math. Everett is using, he's my 7th grader, he's using 8-7, and Grant, my 4th grader, is using 5-4. This is Saxon Math's where it's at. That's what we'll be doing. Nicole, the math lady, major shout out. She's awesome. So now I'm going to get into our music curriculum. Okay, so for music, we are using SQUILT, which stands for Super Quiet Uninterrupted Listening Time, and it is a music appreciation course with Miss Mary. It is an online course, and the kids go on, they listen to a lesson, she teaches them about music, and then they take a little quiz at the end, and each lesson has a packet. So this is my kids' music appreciation notebook. It is large because this is only half a year, and you can see it's already pretty thick. We do music together almost every single week, and then it is divided up by month. So here we have like January, I think this is actually December that we did. And we just have all their packets in here, like Carol of the Bells they did. Here's the Carol of the Bells in Ukraine. So every lesson is different, and they have lots of different, every month has a theme. So like November was Talented Young Musicians, October's Organ October. We kind of mix and match everything. September was a September of Symphonies. She also does a lot of like movies. So we've done Chitty Chitty Bang Bang, The Lion King, Jurassic Park. I think that's it for movies and musicals. Oh, they did Peter Pan as well. And so it's really, really cool because it goes into the music of everything. And then when we do like a musical lesson, for example, we did Peter Pan in December, I think, maybe November. But Then while I went to work and Joe was home with them in order to finish their music lesson for the week. The one day I had them do the lesson with Miss Mary, and then the next day I had them watch the actual Peter Pan musical, not the movie, but the musical online. And then we had a discussion, like a family discussion the next day over what they learned from Miss Mary on Squilt and then what we learned when we watched the musical. So it's a really cool music program. It teaches the kids a lot about music. They're learning about lots of different types of music. And we really, really love it. I would highly also recommend Squilt. We plan on doing it for the remainder of our homeschooling journey. And I absolutely can't say enough good things about it. We love it. So, all right. That might be it. I'm going to just double check it and make sure we went over everything. Okay, I reviewed it and got a little kombucha. Look, it looks fancy. Actually, Joe made it for me. Isn't that nice? So I reviewed it. We went over everything. And so if you're still with me, congratulations. That was long-winded for sure. And I'd love to talk more about homeschooling. I am incredibly passionate about it and about our curriculum choices, and I love to hear about other people's journeys. I honestly was never a YouTube person until I started homeschooling and I started watching other YouTube channels for homeschoolers, and I learned so much about homeschooling through YouTube. Again, an awesome friend of mine, Roxy at Firewife Lawyer Mom, she is an incredible homeschooling guru, wealth of knowledge, so check her out for sure. I will link all of our curriculum in the description box below, so if you're interested in any of that, go ahead, check it out. If you have specific questions for me, leave a comment and I'll gladly get back to you about it. I'm always open to learning more, so if you have other suggestions about things that we can try out in our homeschool, I would love to hear about it because I'm always open to try new things. As you can see by me going through 4 different social studies curriculums this year, I'm open to new things. So again, thanks so much for being here, especially if you made it this far in the video. I know it was a long one. So I look forward to seeing you guys again soon, and maybe with more homeschooling content if you're interested. So I look forward to talking again. Bye.